Every change in productivity in human society opens up a brand new era. Now a brand new digital age has arrived. The construction industry has also quietly started this digital wave. And the leading concept of digital building has triggered great change that can be written down in history. Building is never isolated. It is a condensation of time, space, thoughts, and matters. Digital building is a comprehensive digital reshaping of the complete life system of building. Reconstruct the building by numbers and link the virtual and the real connection with each other. Do extensive collection of industrial databases on powerful algorithms and huge computing power. That guides us to achieve smarter management. Digital building connects the upstream and downstream of the construction industry chain into an organic system. Creates a construction industry internet platform to give the industry a new dynamism to upgrade. Promote industrial upgrading represented by new design, new construction, and new operation and maintenance. And build a new ecosystem with multi-win and synergistic development spirit. As a result, digital application scenarios become the new normal situation of the construction industry. Enterprise-intensive management with data as the core, refined management with projects as the core, and help each project getting successful through a digital building platform. Digital building is a gradual process. From the each position of digital application to achieve efficient operations. Each position links to other positions, collaborative, interact to achieve refined management of the project. Promote the digitalization of enterprises with the project at the fulcrum and reshape the core competitiveness of enterprises. And finally, it achieves full digitalization supervision of construction industry. When the dream of digital transformation shines into the construction industry, it has inspired countless industry colleagues to jointly promote the step-by-step growth of digital building, and to make the ancient industry of construction a new vitality. Digital building shows us unlimited possibilities, and it will lead the construction industry to a new life.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Victor. Well, first let's welcome our guest today. So, everybody, welcome to our very first Glodon Academia Direct 2021. This will be the first of many annual of this gathering. This Academia Direct is intended to keep you updated on the latest updates for our software as well as any updates that we have for our education line, including like what sort of services or what sort of resources you will have for your students, how you can get your certificates, and so on. So since this is the first of its kind, we will get through some of the basics first, which includes the items that I've mentioned earlier. So without further ado, let me first invite or begin the event by inviting Victor to deliver his welcoming speech. Victor, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Eric. And good morning, everyone. Victor Lee here. I'm the country director for Glodon Malaysia. Now, since the COVID-19 pandemic broke out more than a year ago until today, the awareness of digital technology or digital solution has seen a very rapid rise. And of course, in the construction industry specifically, more so than ever, more people are talking about BIM. So the awareness is unprecedentedly high compared to just a few years ago. So Glodon Malaysia, being an industry player in this, driving the digital construction industry forward, we have been organizing many activities, both online, offline, events, to stay engaged with our customers and also share about BIM related information. But today is the first ever time that we organize this event specifically for the academic industry. Now, the reason we want to organize this specific event for the industry is because our collaboration with the education institutions compared to just a few years ago now also have grown by quite a bit. So, and we also realized throughout our communication, we also realized that the academic industry, the requirements from the academic industry can be a bit different from our other industry customers, because in the end, academic industry is about passing the knowledge and improving the understanding of the students on the relevant topic that you guys are teaching. So after understanding this demand, we decided that this year, let's do a specific event that will update our academic industry customers with more info about what's happening at Glodon. And I also believe you guys, after choosing us as your partners, you're also interested to get more info from us on how we can assist you in moving the education industry forward. All right. So therefore, this year, we came up with this event called Academia Direct. So we will update you with our latest product info, our latest service info, and also some of our events info that are more relevant to the education industry. So we streamline all this info into one single event for your convenience, and we hope this can make our communication and our collaboration move forward in an even smoother manner. Okay, so this is the first time we organize this event, so there may be some areas that we haven't done perfectly good. So we hope you can stay with us throughout the event and provide us some feedback at the end of it. So with that, that concludes my opening, and I would like to pass it back to Eric. So thank you all for joining. So Eric, over to you.
All right, thank you, Victor. So after that welcoming speech, I guess everybody know that this is maybe that's the first time that we'll be doing it, and also the general idea of why we are doing this event in the first place. So before I get into the agenda, just a couple of ground rules that my colleague has already posted into the chat. So if you have any questions at any segment during this event, do feel free to unmute yourself and ask your questions. But fear not, for each segment of this event, there will be a slot for Q&A. So you can unmute yourself or even type in your questions into the chat if you have any questions at all during that time. So in the meantime, please do remain muted if you don't have any questions. But other than that, just sit back, relax, and enjoy yourselves. So the agenda for today, it will take about roughly 1.5 hours to 2 hours event only. Not going to take a long time. It's going to go through this couple of items, which is, first off, we are going to go through the new features for C-III. Some universities, even though have partnered with us, have not updated to C-III version yet, which is our latest version for this year. So I will be updating you guys on what you have been missing out, as well as what are the possible things that you will be able to teach your students in the future. Next up, we'll be covering some of the installation arrangement or tutorial or guides. This will be an important segment, especially for those new partners, because typically we would do the installation for you. But since we are all working from home and interstate travel, even traveling is not really permissible. So a lot of the installation and such will need to be done by your in-house IT personnel. So I'll be providing you some of the installation arrangement and guides. Next, we'll be talking a little bit about some of the different methods that you can integrate Cubicost with. So some of the universities, even though are interested to integrate Cubicost with us into their syllabus or into their universities, or even introduce Cubicost to their students, after they have partnered with us, it's kind of hard on to decide where to get started. So in this segment, we will be covering through some of the possible methods that you can use to integrate Cubicost into your syllabus, or some of the methods that you can teach Cubicost to your students. After that, we'll be covering the trainer certification. What are the items that you will need to go through in order to be officially certified by Glodon? Then we will also take a look and take this time and opportunity to acknowledge some of the certified trainers who has already passed all the evaluation, as well as some of the sharings done by these certified trainers. After that, we'll talk a little bit about your students, of where they can get assistance, what sort of resources is available to them, and so on. And last but certainly not least, how you as the lecturer can apply for certification for your students as well. So without further ado, let's get started. So we get started with the new features of C-III. So there are quite a lot of improvements we've done to our Cubicost C-III version, but we'll just focus on the ones which may be more relevant to you as the educator, which means we'll be focusing on functions that you will be using to teach your students. There will be a couple of things. First off is the construction module, which includes a revision and also segmentation module. We will see it in detail later on. We are going to talk about steel trusses as well, mostly for steel structures, steel roofs, and so on. Then identification check, as well as the integrated learner guide. So all of this will be important information for you as the educator, since you'll be using the software to teach the students. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the construction module. So construction module is mainly um, to address the issue of the manual takeoff that is done for a lot of QS during the construction stage. Now, some university may not focus too much on post-contract stage, as in claims and so on, but using the integrated Cubicost construction module, you may be able to use Beam to cater for this segment as well. Now, just to do a little bit sharing, in the industry previously, when they have integrated Cubicost into the practice as well, a lot of them are still using manual takeoff when it comes to construction stage, which means post-contract stage. So this construction module is to address the problem of when you're doing manual takeoff in construction stage, it is time consuming because it's done monthly mostly, and the information is needed in real time. Second problem that a lot of QS face is the lack of information integration. Because it is manual takeoff and it's done in Excel and hard copy drawings, a lot of this information are actually tied together. So we actually have this module specifically to address these two issues. There are two parts to construction module. First is the segmentation function, which will cover construction zone, subcontracting, and progress claim. And the other one is revision function. Revision, as the name implies, is mostly for addendums, amendment drawings, revision drawings, and variation orders. So let's take a look at the construction module of the first function, which is segmentation. How are we going to use this? And how are you as the educator going to teach this to your students? So segmentation actually covers a couple of things. Segmentation can be used in construction zoning, subcontracting, and progress claim. But let's find out exactly why we have this feature here. So some of the pains that the actual industry QS or even some of your students may face is that most of the site QS do more annual takeoff, which is not only time consuming, especially because it's a monthly work, but some of them will also build a claim model progressively, which takes more time to model. As you know, the time which is needed to do the claim submission is not long. It's mostly 1 or 2 weeks only, or just a couple of days before they need to submit the claim. So it's not really enough time for them to complete the modeling. In TSC2, the only way is to break or split entities, which is, let's say if you have a long beam here, you need to break individual beams one by one and then input the labels in the construction attributes. So previously, C2 users, they find it hard to divide entities, hard to select all the entities, and also hard to divide entities because there will be some errors which is caused in the rebar measurement. Segmentation function is basically a new element type. So in TASC, you have elements such as columns, beams, slab, finishes, and so on. Segmentation is just a different function, different element. Segmentation is used to divide the model in order to extract the exact quantities from the partial models. There are 4 types of sub-elements for different scenarios, including construction zone, subcontracting, progress claim, and if it doesn't fit any of these 3, we have a custom element as well. So what this essentially allows you to do is take a completed model that whether the contractor or consultant has done in the pre-tender stage for measurement or cost planning. It allows them to split specific areas or specific parts of the model to extract the quantities of that area only. So with segmentation, we are hoping to solve the issue of between the pre and post contract during the tendering stage. By construction zones can be used to divide large-scale construction project into smaller sections. So whether it's by blocks or by floors or by areas. Segmentation also allows the main contractor to do subcontracting. So it makes it easier for them to trace which segments or which parts of the project belongs to subcontractor A, B, C, D, or E, so that there's no problem of double claims and so on. And during the construction stage itself, it allows both the contractors and consultants to keep track of the progress claim. So in construction stage, the progress claim BQ is established based on the actual work done by each interim, which means only the quantities of some parts of the model need to be extracted. Previously, in the practice of QS or in the practice of progress claim, all of this claim is done using percentage. So for example, the contractors would take some pictures, highlight some of the items in the drawings, and then let's say column is 90% done. Then the consultant will say that, hey, how do you prove it's 90%? Since you can't prove, I'm going to say that this is only 75% done. So there's always a room for negotiation or a room for dispute. But using this segmentation feature, the contractors can claim exactly according to quantity for their progress claim instead of percentage. There will be no reason for the consultant to deduct any parts of their claims. So how does this work actually? Essentially, segmentation is part of this element list. You just need to create a new element and set the calculation scope. From there, you set the drawing of where you want your progress claim to be. If there's any item which is missed out, so for example, this is partially selected only for these columns, but you want it to be part under progress claim 1, you can as well set all these items which are not selected as part of your progress claim. So once you've done that, you can then set other elements or other parts and then calculate your project. This will allow you to extract the quantities of that specific progress claim. So by selecting the progress claim, you can see whatever which is affiliated to the progress claim only. Other quantities will not be shown and will not be inserted into this. Another report that you can see is that if you have a large element or large entity, for example, this piece of slab here, and you want to check how much percentage belongs to progress claim 1, how much percentage belongs to progress claim 2, you can also check it using the view expression. This will show you the total quantity. It'll show you the total quantity of this particular large area of slab, as well as the breakdown. You can see how much is parked under progress claim 1 and how much is parked under progress claim null. Null means it's not selected yet. So this allows the QS to get accurate segmentation and also the, in a way, progress claim. So the steps, to summarize it, will be as follows. First off, you just need to create the segmentation in the element list. Set up your calculation scope, as in which element will be calculated in this particular progress claim. So for example, the progress claim is just claiming for structural items. So you just like all the structural items, which is column, beams, and slab. And then adjust the segmentation and draw the segmentation. And finally, get your quantities, view quantity and view expression. Very simple to use, very quick to use as well. So in terms of you as the educator, you can maybe integrate this when you are teaching your students to do progress claims, the concept of it, how progress claim actually works, how to put in the percentage of the progress claims, why put 50% instead of 60%, how to justify it, and so on. Now, the next part of construction module is revision. Revision here deals with addendum, amendments, and revision drawings. It also deals with variation orders. So some of the pains which is faced by the QS when doing revision is that, first off, the changes on the drawings are hard to be found and located, especially when the drawings are intricate and the labels are not complete. Most of the QS still do manual tick off for variation order, which is admittedly time consuming. It is also troublesome to compare quantities. Therefore, it is hard to assemble the quantities for addition and omission items. Certain drawings you will get a fairly descriptive variation order, but some of it you just have the original and the variation drawing, and it just gives you a cloud. It doesn't really tell you what has changed. So this actually makes it difficult for the QS to follow, like, hey, what exactly is included in this variation. So to tackle this, we have introduced to you the revision function. So revision function basically introduces a few different features, which includes, first off, drawing changes, which will automatically compare the drawings. If you compare the original versus the revision drawing. If any of you has ever used Mozzie Differ before, it's basically Mozzie Differ integrated into TASC now. Next is the revision function, which will allow you to save the quantities for comparison when changes or VO occurs. It will show you a before and after quantities as well. So view change quantities enables the change per revision to be flexibly shown. So if you want to compare revision 1 with revision 0, or revision 2 with revision 0, revision 3 with revision 1, you can compare with any of the revision functions or revision versions. So what does this actually solve? So revision function actually tackles two aspects of the project, which is in the tender stage, which is addendums and amendments, as well as the post-contract for revision and also variation orders. In the tender stage, due to the design and changes, drawings and design models will be updated to QS as addendums or amendments. QS will typically need to do the quantity takeoff again, whether it is whether the changes here is a 3D model or a 2D drawing. QS will still have to do the quantity takeoff again. And for construction VOs, in the construction stage, when receiving or requesting VOs, contractor QS needs to calculate the changes for additions and omissions to build up the VO, BQ, and submit claims. So how exactly do we use this revision module? It helps you to update your revision models and calculate for the changes with auto comparison for the drawings. So here will be a step-by-step on how to actually use the function. First off, you'll need to import your before and after model drawing by referring to your current drawing, which is your after revision drawings. You can then compare it with the previous drawing, and you can see clearly what are the changes that has happened. The items that is added to the drawings will be highlighted in green. Items which have been removed will be highlighted in red. Further to that, you can also choose to close the layers depending on what you're working on. So for example, right now the beams are being changed. So you just see what has been deleted, remove according to the drawing. Further to that, you also need to adjust your slabs and any other associated items. After that is smooth sailing as normal. Just edit as what you would normally do and place in all the other elements according to your revision. From there, you can complete your revision. And what the software will then allow you to do is to compare the change quantities between these two revisions. There's a before and after revision quantities. There's also a breakdown which will tell you if there's any new added items in that particular revision. So in case you missed it, so you can see that any new items will be highlighted in yellow, and it will also tell you which are the items which belongs to revision 1, revision 2, and so on. This will allow you to search what are the items exactly that has been changed in revision 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is easier for you as the QS, or in this case, your students as the QS, to keep track of what they have changed in revision 1, what they have changed in revision 2, 3, 4, and so on. So all in all, just to summarize it, first off, you need to compare your drawings to see what are the changes. Then you need to add the revision to save the previous quantities, apply the changes, finish the revision, and then last but not least, view the change quantities, which will clearly tell you what are the deleted items, added items, and changed items. Best of all, you can also export this to Excel, which will give you or the contractor some sort of report when they're doing their addition and omission claim. So before you go into the next part, any questions regarding the construction module? Any questions at all? Do feel free to unmute if you want to ask any questions. Okay, Ms. Tan says no. What about others? All right. So moving on, we are going to talk a little bit about truss. Now, truss here, we are talking about specifically steel trusses, steel structure trusses like C-channel, hollow, square hollow section, I-beam, H-beam, all this steel structure. So in C-III, we have actually introduced a new function or new feature that will make you be able to measure trusses easier. So just a bit of background, truss is commonly used in actual projects. So previously, you need to use a combination of steel columns and steel beams to draw a truss and continuously adjust the elevation information on the plan, which is very time consuming. So imagine if you have a drawing like this, you will need to continuously set every single steel beam truss, which is kind of tedious. So this entire process roughly will take about 20 minutes just to draw a simple set of steel truss like this. You can see that it is actually a step-by-step process where you need to adjust every single piece of elevation. Then only you will get the slanting parts of your truss. For vertical trusses, you then need to switch over to your steel column. Click one by one and then get your steel column or steel vertical trusses. There's a lot of things basically that you need to do just to create a simple set of truss like this. Not saying that the previous version you're not able to do, it's just that it takes a lot of time. But with the current version of truss feature, we now introduce a new function directly into steel beam. What this feature allows you to do is this feature allows you to draw the steel truss from a site elevation, which means you can just draw according to your site elevation drawing. You can see a site elevation here. You basically just need to import your site elevation or a section view of your truss, input it to the correct height, and just start drawing as what you would normally do on a plan view. Very quick, very simple. You don't have to adjust any of the elevations because this is from a side view. This entire process, in comparison to previous version, will take a significantly less amount of time to draw. So once that's done, you can see that your truss has been completed. All in all, this takes about just 5 minutes in comparison to the previous 20 minutes. So you can opt to, if you have any syllabus which covers steel structure, you can also opt to teach using Cubicost now. Next up is the identification check function. May I know what is the unit given for the steel rod trusses, LB, weight, or M2? It's given in it's given in meter. It will give you the meter of the steel structure. It will give you the weight of the structure as well. It will also, if I'm not mistaken, it will also give you the exposed area of the steel structure. We'll be covering plates and bolts and nuts. Desmond, unfortunately, for this steel structure, we are still not able to cover the number of connections. So as of now, we are still advising the users or educators to follow the number of steel items or steel entities and multiply it by 2, because it is typically understandable that for every entity, steel entity or bit will have 2 connections, one at each end. So you just take it and multiply by 2 sets. All the quantity will measure will then convert to kg, right? Ms. Tan, so the quantity given will be given both of it. The software itself will have a theoretical kg per meter. So it gives you the meter quantity and it also gives you exactly the kg quantity. So you don't have to do any sort of manual conversion. So now good, yeah? Yep, definitely won't be an issue. Definitely won't be an issue. The reason why the software gives in meter also is because, let's say if you need to do any sort of like finishes, waterproofing and so on, then you at least have that meter quantity to go by. So you have the both of the quantities. Alright, so let's proceed with identification check. Identification check is sort of like a sub feature that we've integrated into beams. So if you've ever used the auto identify function for beams, you will probably face a lot of these issues before. Sometimes the design drawings may contain incorrect or inaccurate information. Thus, after using the auto identify for beam, you may find that first off is tedious to manually check the identified beam entities. It's time consuming to modify the beam info in attribute editor, and it is also difficult to filter out the beams that has been modified. So for those that have not used this auto identify before, basically because auto for beams, some of the especially pre contract drawings, they're always lacking a lot of information. Sometimes the name are not there, the dimensions are not there. So what happens is that the software will can detect the lines, but it won't be able to detect the dimensions, or it won't be able to detect the name. So all this will cause issue like creating unnamed beams, which is not really what we want. So identification check basically allows you to immediately check which are the possible items which has errors. Some of the items include if the software is not able to detect or if the software immediately uses the default height, which means the software is not reading the height from the drawing. These are possible causes for error. If the beam itself is different from the sightline size. So for example, if your beam sightlines are, let's say, 400 mm apart, but your dimension says is 450. So beams like this will also be highlighted. If there are any unnamed beams, it will also be highlighted. And also other errors. The software will highlight to you exactly where all these single beams are, every single piece of beam, so that you can check it one by one. It will bring you through a process which will allow you to check, first off, check this, and then each individual beam, you can then modify it. Once you click on it, there will be a small little window for you to modify, including the name, width, and height. And there's also a small little checkbox. Once you click on this checkbox, this will update the list and remove it from this particular list. At the same time, it will also modify the model. So you can see this sort of circular task that you'll be going through. You use this list to check where the error is coming from the model. From here, you modify the information. And once you've modified this information, this will update the model and also update your list. At the end of this process of checking, this list should be empty. Right? So there won't be any beams will be missed out. So just to give you a clearer look, this is the entire process. Do a simple quick auto identification first by picking the sightline and label. Seems very normal, right? But once you click on the identifying, you can then sort the entities caused by the error caused. Every time you select on each item, the beams will be highlighted on the model. So from here, then you can check every single piece of beam and modify it. Maybe you can change the name, you can change the height. And once you're done, just go over to the next one. The moment you change this, it will be removed from your list. You can see this. Any unnamed items, any errored beams, the moment you change it into the items that you need, it will be removed from this particular list. So at the end of this checking process, it will be empty. Do bear in mind that this is only usable if you use the auto identify function. If you didn't use the auto identify function, then this obviously will not pop up. All right. So any questions about this one? Okay, so right, Desmond is good. I mean, Mr. Army says good as well. Right, so let's proceed. Now, this is something, the next part here is something that we have integrated to help new learners, which is our integrated learner guide. This function is basically previously in C2 or TASC or TASC is already there, but it is not so comprehensive. It's basically just an integrated guide or a step-by-step guide on letting the new learners or new users learn how to use the software. So we basically redesigned it to be more user-friendly and easier to learn. Using this learner guide, we have included a sample project to test as well. We have revised all our contents. All the pictures or videos is shorter and focused on the function. Starter guide can also be folded and the page title is more informative. Now, what exactly do I mean by this? Is that once you start up a new project, you can actually click on our sample, download the sample drawings. And from here, every step that you need to do is actually highlighted in the small picture-in-picture video. It's also a step-by-step. So it allows you to refer to the drawing or refer to the video, perform any steps here, and then refer to it again and click next. So it's really step-by-step. This will allow any new users to follow exactly or to quickly pick up on the software. So with this function, why we actually integrate this is because there are more and more users which prefer to learn the software on their own. And this couldn't come at a better time because of the current situation that we are all stuck in. Some universities are not able to, or some lecturers are not able to teach Cubicost to their students because of the software and the licenses are being stuck inside the lab. So this is also an option for the students to be able to still access learning equipments or learning videos in the comfort of their own home. So they were also integrated new feature guide. So the previous new features that I've introduced to you, we have also integrated guide for every single piece of new feature. So for example, segmentation, will be a sample model and sample drawing for you to try. You see here. Let's click on the video learning or function guide. And it will teach you step by step on how to use it. Segmentation, revision, everything is all there. Okay, so before we move into the next segment, is there any questions on the new features? There are quite a few more new features which has been done in the C3 version. However, the ones that I've covered is mostly more relevant to you as the educator that you may or may not be using to teach your students. Okay, no questions. So we'll proceed with the next part. So next up, we'll go into talk a little bit about Cubicost installation arrangement and guide. Now, why is it important for you as a lecturer to know this is because sometimes due to whatever reason it may be, maybe your laptop has error or a virus or has to format and then you have to reinstall the software yourself. Where are you going to get all this installation file or how are you going to do it? So in this installation arrangement or guide, we have compiled for you the installation link download. We'll talk a little bit about Cubicost Manager as well. And then I'm going to introduce to you something new, which is TBQ standalone version. Then last but not least, there is installation guide download for you. So after this event, I will be sending you these slides so that you can actually keep track of what all the links are and so on. So whenever you need to get any download files, you can just go ahead and get this from this list here. So installation files download, this whole list includes C-III, TS C-III, TRB C-III, and TBQ C-III Standard Edition. So standard edition means it's the one which is used by the industry. So from here, there's nothing really much. Just go ahead, download, and then further to this, after you've downloaded, you can just follow the installation guide that we'll be going through later on. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Cubicost Manager. Now, if you don't want to memorize or keep track of all these download links, you can actually just download Cubicost Manager. Cubicost Manager is basically just a tool which includes easy access to your project files. It also includes basic introduction videos. It also allows you to easily access your softwares and updates. So, and it'll also tell you which version you are currently using in your particular machine. So if you have installed Cubicost Manager, you can then easily download any updates that we have officially issued to the industry. You don't have to wait for an email from us to get all this download link again. So my recommendation would be to just get or download Cubicost Manager here. And from there, you will be constantly kept up to date with the latest software function. Now, a little bit different compared to our Cubicost Standard Edition. This year, we have released a standalone edition for TBQ C-III. This is the version number. You don't really have to memorize it, but just put it there just for your information. This TBQ-C version allows the user or students to access TBQ from their own PC without the requirement to connect to the university servers. This is easier for the lecturers to provide assignments and tasks outside of campus, and this is one of the solutions that we have for study at home situation. So basically, to quickly go through TBQ-C standalone is that in the standard edition, you will have a main server and all the users will connect to that server. You have multiple users which will all connect to one single server. Standalone means every computer will have its own server and every computer will only have one user. So the idea here is to install the standalone server and in the computer or laptop of home office, or in this case would be your student's laptop. And then you can log in and link to standalone server to use independently. For the company's local network or company's main server, you need the what we call the enterprise account. So for example, Inti will have one Inti enterprise account, Taylor's will have one Taylor's enterprise account. So every single university will only have one enterprise account, which does mean that every university can only have one TBQ server, which is kind of tedious if you want to give assignments to your students. It's all just limited to the lab. But with this standalone version, every user or every student will also have their own server so that they can work on their project individually. So how is this actually different compared to the standard version? To install this and use, you need to install both the server and client of the standalone version. So just to clarify, this list here is the standard edition that you would typically install in your in the campus, because then you'll be linked into your campus server. Not to be confused with this, it's two different versions. One is standalone version, the other one is standard version. Standalone version are for students which are currently studying from home, which does not have access to the university servers. So to install this, just install both the server and client for standalone version. You don't have to bind any sort of account here. You can open and start the TBQ server directly. Then open up the TBQ client, and then enter the account and password. Enter the standalone IP address, and then log in to use TBQ. That's it. Basically, that's just it. Standalone server can only be used by current clients, which means only in the local computer. If you have two computers, you need to install two standalone servers and client. You cannot cross computer. So this is the main difference. Standard edition, you can collaborate between multiple users, multiple TBQ clients. Whereas TBQ standalone, you can't, because as the name implies, it is standalone version. TBQ Standard Edition also has user and permission settings because you have multiple users in one server, whereas TBQ Standalone version, you don't have. The rest is all the same. You can still live link your quantities, you can still identify your PDF, everything, all the function-wise is still the same. It's just this one. You cannot collaborate with other users, or in this case, other students. Okay, so instance as TBQC standalone version required to download and connect to Glodon server, right? No, you don't have to. You're not connecting to Glodon server. TBQC standalone has a standalone client and a standalone server. So you're basically putting your own computer as the server. Circle us is if campus is dongle for TAS and TRB Delphi will it be standalone must upgrade to C-III? No, if okay for campus one, TAS and TRB, and also in the future TBQ, it will still be inside the dongle. So not to talk about the campus version. Campus version is still going to be in the dongle, regardless whether it's Delphi or C-III. So this standalone version is mostly for those which are forced to use it away from the campus. So this is just a solution that we provide for students to be able to still learn Cubicost in the comfort of their own home. Those that are using dongles in their campus will still use dongle once they upgrade to C-III. All right. So yeah, that is for the standalone version for TBQ C-III. To make it conclusive, standard edition is the one that you will be installing in the campus. But for currently, where everybody is still studying from home, the standalone version is the one which you will be giving to your students to install in their own PC. To make it easier for everyone, we have also included an installation handbook, which will get you a step-by-step, give you a step-by-step picture. This includes the software installation guide, as well as dongle and license management guide as well. This is the installation or the download link for this installation guide. You can just go ahead and download it and then refer to this while you're doing your installation. Nothing really much. It's just a list or a compilation of resources that you may need as a lecturer. So any questions in terms of any other questions in terms of the installation? Right. So next up is some of this is one of the main headaches that some of the lecturers or universities are facing, which is what are the methods to integrate Cubicost into or for your students. So we will cover different methods to teach Cubicost and some of the sample materials download as well. So in case you're wondering like where are we going to get our sample drawings, or instead of asking your students to get some sample drawings which may or may not be complete, we also prepare some materials for you. So let's talk about how many methods are there to teach Cubicost. First off, there's integrating the existing syllabus. Then there's introducing Cubicost as a new course. And last but definitely not least is a one-off training. So by integration into existing syllabus, which means you are basically taking parts of Cubicost to be inserted into your existing syllabus. So for example, let's say you want to teach column beam slab in your structural measurement, and then steel structure, and you want to introduce steel structure measurement in your syllabus. Then TRB will be introduced if you want to introduce rebar measurement for your students. So you're basically taking bits and parts of Cubicost and integrating into your syllabus when you want to introduce this aspect of measurement into your to your students. So some types of courses which will be suitable to be integrated with Cubicost includes measurement, which is pre and post contract, estimating for your build-up rates, any cost planning courses, or any BQ preparation courses as well. So these are the some of different types or natures of course which is suitable. However, if you want to introduce or integrate into existing syllabus, we do recommend to the software to be introduced in year 2 or later, after the basics of quantity surveying has been introduced to the students. There are cases of because in the newer generation of students, most of them will be kind of tech savvy already. If you introduce Cubicost to them a little bit early into their education, they will be a little bit too reliant on Cubicost and will ignore everything that you teach in SMM2 and so on. So even though they technically can measure the project, they won't actually understand the concept of measurement. So we don't want to, even us as the software provider, we don't want that to happen. We still want QS students to be able to learn what is the basics of being a QS first before actually measuring the quantities. However, if you want to integrate Cubicost into the existing syllabus, you may need to adjust your own teaching contents in order to suit the existing course syllabus instead of following the default Cubicost syllabus. So just these few items that you have to take note if you want to integrate into existing syllabus. Contents can to be taught should follow the suit the flow of the course syllabus. So for example, this one I've already talked about this, where TRB taught when rebar measurement is introduced, TAS to be taught under the topic of architecture, superstructure, substructure measurement. And just for your reference, these are some of the suitable aspects to teach using Cubicost if you want to really want to pick and match some of the aspects of Cubicost into existing syllabus. For TAS, you can be integrated with concrete formwork steel structure, work below lowest floor finishes, linking quantities to BQ, progress claims, and subcontracting. TRB can be taught if you want to teach reinforcement bar, steel fabric, and linking quantities. TBQ can use if you want to do some BQ preparation, practice some build-up rates, practice some tendering, and also linking your quantities and rates. So these are just some of the aspects that maybe you can pick and match into your existing syllabus. The next method is of course to introduce Cubicost as a entirely new course, whereby educators can introduce Cubicost as one of the beam quantity measurement suites used in the industry. However, you will then need to cover 14 or 16 weeks of progressive learning and assignments of different modules. So for example, you can make this as element based, whether you want to teach column, concrete formwork rebar, beam concrete formwork rebar, slab concrete formwork rebar, or discipline based, which is structural, architectural, reinforcement bars, or whether you want to teach it as software based, whether you want to teach TIS first, then followed by TRB, and then followed by TBQ, or however so. Educators may choose to follow the flow of default Cubicost syllabus, but you will definitely need to add assignment and practice contents alongside the existing materials. This version, if you want to introduce Cubicost as a new course, you can also use this function or this course to simulate an actual measurement process for a project. The benefit of doing this is that you don't need to modify your existing course syllabus, like your measurement course syllabus, estimating course syllabus, and so on. You don't have to modify any of those. You just make a new course to introduce Cubicost. And then there is the industry style training, which is what we call the one-off training, whereby you can follow exactly according to Glodon's default Cubicost syllabus. 2 to 3 days of measurement training, 1 to 2 days of BQ training. And by the end of this particular project or this training, you'll be able to simulate an actual project from start of the measurement to issuing BQ. One-off training will teach or will allow the students to learn the key functions of Cubicost. So typically this one will be done like at the end of, let's say, every year 2, you introduce this to all your year 2 students. At the end of the year 2 semester, you can introduce this to them like one shot. Or at the start of your year 2 program, you can introduce all of this, your year 2 program students into Cubicost. So it depends on how you want to proceed. There's 3 different methods, whether you integrate into existing syllabus, create a new course, or just give a one-off training. To make it easier, these are just some of the sample materials download, which include sample drawings, 2D drawings, some sample model for ISC and RVT for those who are using AutoCAD Revit that you want to check, and some slides for reference as well. If you want to ever refer to any training slides, you can also refer to this. You can use these sample materials if Cubicost is taught as a separate course or as a one-off training. If you're integrating the existing syllabus, then you may have to prepare your own syllabus. But if you find that the drawings are still suitable, by all means, do feel free to use these sample materials. Okay, so any questions on this part? If you're a new partner that just started to install Cubicost into the campus, or has not started the curriculum with Cubicost before, or if you are if you haven't actually partnered with Cubicost yet and want to actually find out how you can proceed further, you can always just contact us and then we will try to arrange something, maybe like a workshop or training session first for a sample or for a test batch of students. We can always arrange something to let you see what is the feedback and so on. So no problem on this. If you want to find out how you want to integrate it into your own syllabus, then you can also just request a discussion session and we'll guide you through it. Next part is trainer certification. So starting this year, we've actually started to officially certify our education partner trainers. So in view with that, I would like to officially introduce to you what are the requirements that you will need to go through in order to get your trainer certificate. We'll also talk a little bit about the refresher course every year. So some of the requirements here includes, first off, basic certification. Second, intermediate certification. And last but not least, you will need to sit for a training simulation in order to qualify for a trainer certificate. So basic user certification is fairly straightforward, whereby you can either sit for, you will need to require to complete the training and online evaluation, whereby you will have to submit a practice model and document, and also you need to sit for a quiz. You can obtain this basic user certificate through industry training sessions, that the ones that we host every month, or train the trainer sessions or TTT sessions. Basic certification covers TAS and TRB basic measurement, and also TBQ for contractor and consultant. TTT sessions will be held starting from this year onwards. TTT sessions will be held 2 times a year, and invitations will be sent via email. TTT sessions will also be joint or open for any university educators to participate. So, for example, we will host a TTT session, let's say it's already been half year. So, somewhere at the end of, let's say, November or September or November, we'll open a 1 week session for TTT, and for those who want to maybe join the session or maybe refresh their knowledge and so on, can join these sessions. It's open for everyone, every university. It will include a 5-day training sessions, which is 3 days for measurement and 2 days for BQ and costing. Next up is the intermediate user certification. To get intermediate user certification, you are required to complete the intermediate training and an online evaluation. You'll also need to have an actual project model, which is about 5,000 meter square GFA, and document submission, which includes the drawings for said project, as well as quiz. Once you've done this, then only you can get your intermediate user certification. For those who are not able to access any complete drawings or don't have any complete drawings for a sample for 5,000 meter square GFA, just let us know and then we'll arrange something special for you as well. Joint intermediate training sessions for university lecturers will also be held 2 times a year, whereby invitations will be sent via email. So to make this easier to remember, TTT sessions will be held in quarter 2 and quarter 4. Joint intermediate sessions will be held in quarter 1 and quarter 3. So just to make it easier to remember. May I know what's the fees for intermediate user certification? Okay, Mr. Very good question, this one. If you are a partner, if your university is partnered with Cubicost, intermediate certification is free of charge. You just need to sit for the training, which is again free of charge. This joint intermediate training session is free of charge. And then you just need to complete the model submission, the model and document submission, as well as quiz. Then it's done. There's no charge at all since the university is partnered with Cubicost. If the university is not partnered with Cubicost, then obviously this will be a different matter. Intermediate training is 1 day for TS and 1 day for TRB. So unlike basic training is 3 days TS TRB measurement. But for intermediate training, is separate. TAS 1 day, TRB 1 day. Okay, so just 2 day session. Unfortunately, at the moment, TBQ intermediate is currently still not available, but we are working on it, working to prepare one in the future. Once you have passed this intermediate training or intermediate user certification, then you will need to sit for a training simulation. This is where individual trainers or lecturers will sit for a 30 minutes to 45 minutes simulation session. The type of simulation is based on Glodon's basic training syllabus. In this training simulation, Glodon's internal evaluations team will evaluate the simulation session live via Zoom online meeting platform. Training simulation will cover key aspects including the understanding of the software functions, ability to perform and explain software operations, and ability to answer inquiries given by the evaluators. Simulation appointment is available based on request. So, if the trainer or lecturer has already obtained basic user certification and intermediate user certification, the individual trainer or lecturer can then request to have an appointment to sit for this simulation to complete the trainer certification process. So yeah, that's basically it. Any questions on the certification part? Further to the certification, certified trainers or not certified trainers can also sit for refresher courses every single year. So refresher courses basically covers new features for that particular year. So I've briefly just introduced some of the new features that is inside C3 version, but like I said, there's a lot more new features in C3, which covers TAS, TRB, and TBQ. So new features training typically covers 1 day or 2 days, depending on the feature update that year. It covers all the relevant new features released in that year. It will be conducted within 1 month of the national product release event. The reason why we have this refresher course is so that educators can be up to date with the new features or new functions to be able to teach the software to the students. Also, starting from this year onwards, we want every partnered university to be using the latest version of Cubicost for their training. Because otherwise, we really do think it's just a waste that your education license or university licenses or even your education partnership with us is active, but you're using the older version with less functions, less features, and so on. Any university that requires a specific refresher course, let's say if you want to refresh for basic training or additional discussion sessions, may do so as well. So just request from us and we will arrange something for you. But typically, refresher course will only cover new features training. All right, so any questions about that? Now, since this is a gathering for a lot of our lecturers here and a lot of our university partners here, we would like to take this time and opportunity to acknowledge the trainers which has already passed the trainer certification prior to this event. So first off, we'll go through whom have already passed or has already certified as Glodon trainers, and we will then also hear some sharing session from a couple of our certified trainers. So without further ado, let's begin. We'll start off with lectures from UTAR. Mr. Azrin Arif for TAS and TRB. Congratulations. Next, Ms. Chong for TAS and TRB. Congratulations as well. Next up is Dr. Wong, also from UTAR for TAS and TRB. Next is Miss Q, also from UTAR for TAS and TRB. Next up is Mr. Lee, also from UTAR for TAS and TRB. Next is Survey Marziana from UTAR for TAS and TRB as well. Congratulations. Moving on is Miss Nurul Huda from INTI IU for TAS and TRB. Congratulations. Mr. Kong from INTI IU as well for TAS and TRB certification. And last but not least, Dr. Sakina from, not INTI IU, this is from USM for TAS and TRB. Congratulations everyone who have already passed the trainer certification. So let's hear from the educators themselves on their experience for teaching Cubicost.
Assalamualaikum and hello. Thank you for allowing me to share my teaching experience with using Glodon software. We have been teaching Glodon software in one of our measurement course called Computerized Quantity Measurement, RQB 261. This class is taught by myself, Dr. Farazira, and Associate Professor Dr. Lim Yok Moy. So we have started to teach this software to students for about 3 years already. Last year and this year, it's been a bit of a challenge to teach these softwares because students were not able to come back to campus to use the software. And that became a problem because the softwares that we purchased at that time required the use of a dongle. So that meant students, would need to use the computers in our university lab.
Fortunately, special thanks to Kwanju, who arranged for our students to have cloud license so that they could operate the software on their own laptop at home. The journey has been smooth. It was much easier to learn and practice the operation of the software now because the students could access and then practice at any time of the day. The initiative by Glodon to provide the online learning platform was very, very useful. Teaching became a lot more easier and students could follow the steps in the process of measuring the quantities of building elements. And we as the lecturers use Glodon's online learning platform as our primary reference for teaching and also to the students because we give them and we developed assessment tools for students based on the content provided by Glodon.
Glodon e-community was also very useful because it allowed because they could simply refer to that for an answer for any similar questions, and they could post their questions there and get feedback directly from the staff. I think that was very useful. And another advantage of this, teaching the software in the classroom was that because of the 3D visuality feature, which made it a lot easier to help students understand the items to take off according to the SMM. With the help of the 3D model, the learning process was just made much more easier because students understand the building element much better. Specifically on the expression view feature, which enabled the display of the detailed calculation of the building element. So that was really, really good. Another thing that I wanted to point out, we had this collaborative project between the quantity surveying students and the architecture students. So the architecture students used TAS to propose an alternative design, and then the QS students would come up with the quantities of that building elements according to the new design. So that was really good, and along the way they worked together. I think that's really good. I mean, even in BIM, people need the different players need to work together in the project. So that was a good learning process for them. Overall, I'm very satisfied with Glodon software. It's really user friendly, and I believe that the Glodon software will be the cutting edge software in BIM projects because of its interoperability and user friendliness. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ruda from INTI International University. I'm teaching Cubicost TAS, Cubicost TRB, and Cubicost TBQ as part of syllabus in a few subjects of degree program and also master's program. I've been teaching Cubicost for around 3 years, and what I like about teaching Cubicost are the first thing, of course, the 3D model. When the student view the 3D model in the Cubicost, they can understand more in terms of how the items actually looks like, especially for the reinforcement bar. And the second one is the relevancy to the syllabus. The element to measure and formulas set in the Cubicost totally similar with the theories taught in the subject, and this make it easier to the student to do measurement. And the next one is the BQ generation. The student can learn how to generate the BQ in the fastest way. And not only BQ, the student can also prepare build-up rates with the Cubicost TBQ. So overall, the student can understand and implement various skills in one platform, which is to do measurement, BQ preparation, and also estimating by using the Cubicost softwares. Not only the software is easier to use and taught with many updated features time to time, I think the services provided by Glodon in terms of the trainings and technical assistance by the staff is also very good. Even during the pandemic, there is no issues in getting those services, just like how it used to be previously. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much for Ms. Nur Huda and also Dr. Zakina to actually share their experience while using Cubicost. So yeah, further to that, other lecturers who also want to sit for the certification evaluation, just do contact me or contact us, and we will try to arrange all the necessary steps for you as well. All right, we are looking to have more and more lecturers join us in part of our as part of our certified trainers. So next up, we'll be talking a little bit about what are the resources that we have for students specifically. First off are the renewable cloud licenses. Now, previously we provide dongles or specific licenses which are attached into the campus computers, which because of this situation, a lot of lecturers are not able to access the licenses from home. So for this year, and as long as this work from home situation or study from home situation is ongoing, we are open to provide renewable cloud licenses for all the students for them to be learn Cubicost easier from their own home. It's a 2 months renewable cloud license for students to use in their own laptop or computer. The type of software that we're covering includes TAS, TRB, and TBQ. However, these renewable cloud licenses are only available for educators and students that are still currently affiliated with partnered universities. Those students who have already graduated will not have access to this. So how we can trace this is that every 2 months, lecturers or person in charge for the university can fill up a template request form, you can get it from here, and send it to these two emails. The information needed for the request or application process includes the name, applicant's name, matriculation ID, student email, and contact number. So all of this is renewable for every 2 months. You have to renew it because this is just a policy, our internal policy that we have, so that those that have already graduated will not have access to the software. All right. So just every 2 months, just send us a new list and we will prepare it for you. But ideally, just give us like 1 or 2 weeks in advance to prepare the licenses for you. All right. Mr. Kong asks, other than TBQ, TAS, and TRB will be standalone for students at home now, or do they need to be installed? Mr. Kong, TAS and TRB has always been standalone. Yeah, it's just that you can access it through cloud, or you can access it through license, or you can access it through dongle. Yeah, TAS and TRB has always been standalone. So TBQ is the one which has newly been added as a standalone for the students. So they just need to reinstall TAS and TRB. They can just install the standard TAS C-III and TRB C-III. TBQ is the one that they need to reinstall with the standalone version. They cannot install standard edition because standard edition they won't be able to install server. The license provided to them for TBQ here is also suitable to be used in the standalone edition, so don't worry about that. Next up, they will have access to Glodon e-community. So as Dr. Sakina has so graciously mentioned in her sharing session, Glodon e-community is a go-to discussion platform for students, industry users, and technical experts alike to actually share their questions and share their solutions. It actually includes a question bank, Q&A, question and answers by technical experts, as well as free tutorial videos and free training video on demands. So students can search through existing question bank for answers or ask their own questions. Questions will be answered by Glodon technical specialists or anyone in the community itself. The tutorial videos or training videos here are all free for any students and lecturers which are affiliated with affiliated with partner universities. So it's all free. After that, we'll talk a little bit about our annual events that we normally hold for our university students. First off is the workshop and webinars. It can be general beam based or Cubicost based. Workshop and webinars, actually we target students to actually aim to promote beam awareness among students, because even as in the industry, beam is gaining more and more traction by the year, especially now since everybody's working from home. Some students are still quite in the dark about beam. So this will actually allow students to prepare themselves for a beam-oriented construction industry. If your university would like us to provide a quick, simple workshop or webinar, just let us know and we will try to arrange something. Once again, this sort of services or this sort of events we do it for the benefit of the students. So just let us know and we'll try to arrange something on our side. Next up is beam contest, our annual beam contest. So beam contest is a series of stages. If you haven't heard already, beam contest, we have done it for 3 years now, for the past 3 years. Unfortunately, this year we are not able to do it because of the pandemic, and to keep everybody safe and sound, we've decided to cancel this year's one. But if by next year everything is fine, then we will definitely host it again. So it's a series of stages that simulates an actual beam application to a project. This includes forming a beam execution plan, quantity measurement using beam tools, variation and remeasurement or other aspects as well. This will allow students to experience using beam in a QS practice. What's more, this beam contest is judged by industry beam professionals instead of from Glodon internal staff. So not only do they get to practice or experience using beam, they will have more exposure to the industry beam professionals as well. Maybe get their context as well. So like I said, unfortunately this year, to keep everybody safe, we have decided to cancel the beam contest. But next year, not to worry, if everything goes well, we will be hosting it again. So this beam contest is open to universities that are both partnered and also any other universities which want to send their participants as well. So any universities are able to participate. So any questions about the resources for your students? If not, let's find out how you can apply for your Glodon issued certificate for your students. So certifications for students, we'll only cover basic certification. There are two different types of certification that we issue. There is TAS and TRB Basic, which is the measurement certification. And then there is TBQ Consultant Basic as well. To sit for this certification, TAS, the students will need to sit for 20 operation-based quiz and provide model submission and evaluation based on a fixed criteria. For the TBQ, same thing, 20 operation-based quiz, question quiz, and they will have to submit a BQ, including PDF format and a TBQ project file. Now, how do you actually start this certification or evaluation process? Starting from this year, the evaluation process is done. Glodon will actually host or have an open evaluation session. So submission of these documents will be open 2 times a year. The notification of when this session will be open will be sent to the universities regarding the schedule here. So for example, let's say the basic certification that we're going to hold is, let's say, in 2 weeks from now. Glodon will send out a notification that, hey, student certification session submission is going to be held in 2 weeks from now. Please prepare your students. And then in that 2 weeks, within that, this submission session will be held in for 2 weeks also. So within these 2 weeks, students can submit their documents and sit for the quiz. And if they have submitted, the names of the students who have submitted their evaluation will be cross-checked with universities. So for example, at the end of the 2 weeks, we will compile a list of students that have submitted their project files, and we will cross-check with the university PIC. If they have confirmed that, hey, these students are indeed valid students which are studying for at this university, then if they pass, then we will issue out the certificate. This evaluation any students of any academic year may sit and submit their evaluation documents. Any academic year, whether it's year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, any. Students who have just graduated less than half a year may also submit their evaluation documents. However, these valid documents or valid students, it depends on the cross-checking with the students' university's PIC. So once again, the whole process is like this. The evaluation the training classes, we won't specifically provide a training class for the students. So don't be confused. We are not going to provide TAS and TRB basic training and then TBQ consultant training for the students. No. This is the lecturer's task to do so, to prepare them, whether you are giving them one-off training or whether you are integrating the software into the syllabus, or even if you are making it as a new course. However you want to teach is up to you. What we actually want is just the evaluation. So for 2 weeks, for twice a year, 2 weeks each time, we will open up the submission deadline. So for example, third and fourth week of August, they can submit. So something like this. Within these 2 weeks, those who have successfully submitted, we will cross-check the name list who have submitted and pass with the name list provided by the PIC of the university. So for example, we will compile a list of, let's say, International University submissions, and we will cross-check with the PIC of International University. Hey, these students, are they valid students inside studying for QS course in INTI? If they say yes, then we'll proceed with the evaluation. And the rest of it, we will send them we will also send them the e-certificate from there. Right, so everybody clear on this certification? Once again, yeah, just to confirm or to clarify, on the Glodon side, we will not be providing basic training, whether it's TAS, TRB, or TBQ, for students. We will not have a special class for them. All we want is just the evaluation. So regardless of how the lecturers teach or the methods of your education, as long as they are able to pass the quiz and able to submit the model and evaluation, then we will issue out the certificate from Glodon side. All right? Any questions? Okay. So with that, if you want to know like what is the student experience learning the software, let's hear from the students themselves, who have graciously agreed to take part in this sharing session.
Hello, I am Daniel Shaw. I'm studying in the International University, and currently I'm in year 2, Sem 4.
My name is Hai Kong, and you can call me Nicholas, and I'm currently studying in Taylor University, and the course that I study is Bachelor in Quantity Surveying, and I'm a year 2 student.
My name is Sean Chong Jajun. I'm currently studying in the International University, and I'm in my second year and third sem studying Bachelor's in Quantity Surveying. I'm so glad to be here.
So my name is Yap San Ming, currently a second semester student, studying a bachelor's degree in Quantity Surveying in Taylor's University.
Before I learning using Cubicost, I learned how to use the traditional method to do the quantity measurement. All my coursemates, including me, we using the dimension paper to do our measurement. We also have touched the Excel spreadsheet a little bit before. We're using this software to do our view of quantities.
To be honest, before I using the Cubicost, I didn't go through any software for quantity surveying. So the method that I use is the most traditional way. It's like we use a paper and then we draw the dimensions and we write the descriptions and those quantity. We do our measurement in the paper and do the quantity and answer for the questions. Yeah. Basically, it's quite hard for the students that, like us, have the image for example, like beam, column, or the slab, or how the reinforcement bar looks like.
I believe there is only one software that I learned before Cubicost, which was the Adobe Acrobat Reader. I believe most of us know this software because we often use it to open our PDF files and so on. I'm not sure about the others, but that's just me. I use this software for basically all my measurement modules because last year during MCO period, shops were closed. We couldn't have access to any printing services. So the only solution for me was to learn how to measure using that Adobe Acrobat Reader.
We don't have a bigger image to see the elements, so we can't know like how we are going to measure it. But usually we need to read a lot of the things in the assignment clauses. Then we only can start to do our measurement. And also for example, like how do we like measure the formula of the beam, right? We need to use length times the depth, right? But sometimes we need a little bit of imaginations, so we only can imagine, so when we need to do the formula for the beam, then we need to use length times the width, and then we start to imagine, this kind of makes sense. But for those person that is not really good in imagination, so it's quite hard for them, because some of my friends keep asking me this kind of questions, like why is length times width, why is length times depth, why is width times depth, this kind of questions. It's quite hard to use the conventional measurement method.
Personally, the biggest challenge faced by me was time, because for us, using the conventional method to measure each item, we had to study the drawings and also to write down full descriptions by hand, so it took a while just to complete it.
Take a lot of time to measure everything by using it. Just like when measuring the reinforcement bar, it is very time consuming and the work is always repeated. Sometimes the reinforcement bar measurement may take up to 4 days to complete. During my internship, I have tried to use the Excel to help with my quantity measurement, but from my experience as a fresh QS, using Excel is still not fast enough. I still need to check everything again and again, and a lot of typos will still happen during the measurement.
Well, upon using the software, I was instantly amazed by the efficiency that it provided and how the building could be visualized upon starting any construction work. So the time taken for us to complete the measurement for, let's say, an entire bungalow unit can be shortened up to just 1 day or 2 days, whereby while using the conventional method, we have to study the drawing and do calculations by elements, and each elements alone it took up to like maybe a day or so. And there are also various functions which saved a lot of time, such as calculate entity, whereby it allows us to generate the quantity by the software.
Impression after using the Cubicost, I realized that this software can assist quantity surveyor during the measurement. I can measure the architecture drawing in just 1 day, and I am able to view the model before the construction is started. There are also a lot of options, such as I can auto-identify the element that I wanted. In short, this is very efficient.
I think it's quite interesting because we can see a bigger picture from the Cubicost. And there's one thing that I really impressed, feel amazing, is when we draw the beam, right, when it's overlapping, then the system will help us to deduct the overlap. So we can know like how the things is going to measure by using this Cubicost, and it also help us to know like what the things that we need to measure for the elements. And also, I didn't know that we can use that to measure the reinforcement bar. So when I knew it, then I feel like, wow, it's interesting. So I think Cubicost is quite good for the quantity survey.
Cubicost has served as a software for the industry to improve their input in many aspects, and I personally think it benefits all of the parties, but especially to the QS when it comes to costing with precise quantity being generated in a quick manner. So this has definitely widened my horizon as a prospective quantity surveyor before stepping into the industry by preparing myself with such technology.
By learning the Cubicost, I can improve my visualization. As a QS in the future, when I look at the drawings, I am able to visualize the look of the building before the construction is started.
I think we can do the BQ easily, which means we can save more time to check all the dimensions. Not check all the dimensions, all the elements in the building. So because the Cubicost, right, it has a cost, calculate every item, and then we bring it to the Excel and we convert the data into the Excel, so we can just straight away copy and paste those data through our BQ, and we don't have to retype it or what. So it's quite new for me, so I'm not sure. There's still a lot of things that I haven't find out. So I think the Excel and the overlapping, the system will help us to deduct the overlapping. For me, it's quite wow.
I think Cubicost is very significant for not only for us, I think for engineers as well, and even architects. But we have to master on the usage of Cubicost. If let's say I could also master in this Cubicost, I could cross-check my answers, I would say, to avoid myself from making all these errors. And also, since we are moving forward to implementing more of these technologies and softwares into our work nowadays, we have to learn, because who knows, sometimes in meeting we might also need to point out some let's say a specific area of the building, and it would be easy and simple to just showcase to everyone through this sort of software.
I think one word, interesting.
Useful.
It's quite an enjoyable experience for me. At least I learned the software happily throughout this whole semester.
Convenient because it saves a lot of time needed for AQS to perform their task, while also it increases one's efficiency.
Mr. Kong, will Glodon officially email HOP regarding new process or certs for students? Yes, we will be officially sending an email follow-up, including these slides as well, so that you can actually have all the links in your hand. and we will actually notify everyone about the new processes, about the certificates, the resources, requesting for temporary license, and so on. Right? So we've come to the end of our event, and I would like to thank everyone for participating in this event. It's just a quick follow-up for everybody, and this will be an annual follow-up for all education partners as well, starting from this year. So I hope to see you guys soon, everyone soon in their own campus or through online. And if you need anything, just feel free to contact me through these two emails. Also, please kindly leave feedback for this event. If you think that we have need some improvements or what you want to see in the future, just let us know. Okay, so yeah, is there any other questions? Okay, guys. So I'll see you guys next time, and see you guys in future events. Stay tuned and stay safe. And once again, thank you guys for joining in, and thank you all so much for your attention and participation during this event. Thank you so much, and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. See you all. Stay safe. Bye, Miss Tan.